Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Shift Show. We are your co-hosts. I am Anna.
I'm Katy.
And as most of you already know, this is a show about reinvention, courage, changes, anything and everything relating to shift. And some of our guests who are creators, entrepreneurs, athletes, entertainers, you name it, authors, make bold shifts and discuss those. And some of them cover the smaller shifts that are also equally as powerful at times.
And the beauty of it is that their goal is to get closer to their authentic selves. And our next guest helps other people get closer to their authentic selves. We're so excited. Over 15 years, Damona Hoffman has empowered people to find authentic love. We have a certified dating coach here, everybody. She is a regular on the Drew Barrymore Show. She has a segment called Dating with Damona on NBC with Mario Lopez. And she's got a book out called F the Fairy Tale. Damona Hoffman, what does F mean?
Come on, I got to keep it daytime TV friendly. You know, F means what you want it to mean. But, really the important element of the book is the subtitle. It's F the Fairy Tale, Rewrite the Dating Myths and Live Your Own Love Story. And that's the really important thing, I think, also for this audience, is that you always have a chance to start again, to rewrite the story, to change your path. And whatever the narrative is that you've been carrying about love, whether it's from fairy tales or rom-coms or just your prior dating or relationship history, that doesn't have to be your narrative going forward if you don't want it to be.
You talk about authentic love. One of our goals on this show is that our guests are helping people show themselves more authentically. What kind of shifts are people not making that you can help them make to find that authentic love?
Well, finding love in the modern world, a lot of it is external. And a lot of times we focus on, well, what do I need to do? Like if you look at all the dating books of the last few decades, it's all about playing this game. I call it in F the Fairy Tale, I call it the rules myth. It's like, what do I need to do to get this person's attention, to get them on the hook, to get the ring, to get to the next step? And I'm like, okay, let's forget all about that. Let's figure out, who are you? What do you have to offer in a relationship? And what would an ideal relationship look like? If you could start from scratch, once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess, what would that narrative say? And so what I do with people is I get them down to the core of who they are. What are their goals, their values, their beliefs about love that need to be addressed, that need to sometimes be rewritten, and let that be the guidepost to leading you in love. So I met my husband online back in, a long time ago. I was an online dating early adopter. So I've been in this space for a long time, and I found that when you get really clear on who you are, what you're looking for, and how to present that at a moment's glance, that's when it all clicks and you're able to make the connection with the person you want to be with, or change the connection that you have.
We talk about this a lot on the show, about this act of unlearning. And I love you touching on that, because those beliefs that we take for granted, we wake up with the beliefs because we've learned them. That is such a shift. And that's a small shift, but it could be so hard to unlearn. So are there some tools or tactics or inspiration that you can share to help people unlearn any beliefs, especially those relating to love?
The first thing you have to do before you unlearn something is to figure out, what have I learned? And to really take stock of that. And I find that in dating, as I was saying, it's very external. It's what they are doing. Men are dogs. Everyone I want to date is already taken. Whatever that narrative is, you've got to stop putting that to the outside of you and really be willing to look at some of the patterns I have people go through their relationship history and look through the patterns. I have a date tracker that I offer my podcast listeners that basically just starts to take stock of what's happening on your dating life. Where did you meet this person? What did you talk about on the date? How did you feel at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the date? So first, we just analyze what's actually happening here. And it's then that we can get strategic. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to work this hard for love. It should just happen. It should just magically happen because we've seen all the fairy tales, right? And we've read the fairy tales, we've seen the rom-coms, and we want it to be easy. But I just have to ask, what have you gotten in your life of value that you didn't put effort, mindfulness, strategy into? And to me, from my money, the person you choose to partner with is the most important decision you will ever make in your life. It affects everything. It affects your mental health. It affects your finances. It affects your family. It affects everything. Why would that be the thing that you leave to chance? It makes no sense. And then when you do put some sort of a process around it, of first just tracking what's going on here, and then saying, okay, I'm going to do this differently. I see that this has not led to the result that I want. So let's experiment. And I really look at dating as sort of a game. And even in relationships, you can experiment with, when I say this thing to my partner, I get a different response. Or instead of screaming at them about this thing that we keep having the same argument over and over, what if I get curious and I listen and I approach it in a different way and ask them, help me understand why this is happening or what's going on in your mind. And sometimes just changing one of the inputs gets you a completely different result.
It sounds like courage and bravery is necessary.
100%.
And the awareness to pause and reflect and audit and review, and not just like, yeah, that didn't work, move forward. I love that, because at the end of the day, it is so much about us.
You just hit on a real challenge in dating today. There's such a, everything is so fast. The speed of dating is the thing that has changed the most since I started doing this work now almost 2 decades ago. The speed of dating and the volume. So now, like when I first started dating coaching, if one of my clients had a date every couple of weeks, they were killing it. And now if someone doesn't have 2 dates in a weekend, they're like, I'm a failure. This sucks. This isn't working. What's going on? And so we've sort of raised the bar for ourselves, and we've made the expectation for dating so high that it feels really exhausting. And then we bring that energy into the dates so that then everybody feels expendable. Every interaction you have is just like, it's too much work. No, thank you, next.
I know you do a lot of workshops. What age range do you work with?
It's funny. Like I was realizing on my podcast a few weeks ago, I had a question from a 20-year-old and I had a question from a 70-year-old. And I'm like, I love that it's so universal. This challenge of connecting and communicating. It knows no age. It knows no limits. However, the challenges that people encounter are different. So I have 2 real sweet spots. One is the high profile, high powered woman who's married to her job but realizes she'd actually like to be married to a person instead. And then I also have a large community of women in their 50s, 60s, 70s who are either finding themselves divorced or widowed. And the dating game has completely changed since the last time that they were single. But it all comes down to communication and dating shifting very dramatically in the last decade or so. And everyone's just sort of struggling to keep up and really craving connection. And that's what I feel like, unfortunately, we're starting to lose just through the way that we communicate today. If we look at how much of our communication is digital, how much of it is asynchronous, not happening in real time, how much of it is overwhelming us, that's really showing up in our relationships.
You know, it's funny. I fortunately have been with my husband for about 20 years, but I have friends that come visit that are in different apps. And I'm so curious that I'm just like, give me the phone. Let me just see what's going on. And to your point, the sheer volume of people, within your reach, and you're basically just reading 3 sentences about a person, and you're making a decision on whether or not you want to get to know this person. Like, that's really hard. That's a lot of pressure. Is there something that you help people even just in that scenario where they have to put themselves out there, but it's just a short amount of information that they can give about themselves?
You're very sweet in saying like people only read a little bit. They actually aren't reading at all.
Okay, I read a little bit.
They look at photos, and we can be mad about it. We can be nostalgic for another era of dating, or we can say this is what's happening now and meet it where it's at. Okay, I'm going to take you back because there was a shift for me. I wasn't always a dating and relationship strategist. I started out originally as a casting director in television, and I started to realize the similarities between a headshot and a dating profile photo. And we all know a first date is an audition. So once I applied what I was learning professionally and teaching to other people to my online dating experience, that's when I met my husband. So I love the nostalgia for a dating scene that truly never existed. It's always been about how one looks, whether it's in the club and somebody saw you from across the room. That never, I don't know if it happened to you ladies, but it never happened to me.
No, that's not my husband in a bar.
Yeah, really? Okay. Maybe I should take some dating tips from you because it never happened for me. But when I found online dating, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense for me. One, it's more efficient. And two, I can be really, really dialed in with my photos, with how I describe myself, with how I search and what I'm looking for. And I can present more than I could if somebody just locked eyes with me across the room, right?
That's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I should probably think about that.
Yeah. We're going to think about that after we get off the phone with you.
Are we doing Katie's profile? Hold on.
So, Damona, the whole thing about casting director first makes a lot of sense as how you made that transition. What about you before, as a young woman, as a little girl? How were you raised and what brought you joy?
I was painfully shy. And I know you're not believing me. I can read it on your faces right now. Like, shy?
Yeah,
What?
sounds
I
right.
was so shy, y'all. My mom had to go up to children on the playground and say, "This is my daughter, Damona. Will you play with her?" That's how shy. And I still remember that person. She's still inside of me. And that is not how I am right now. But just know it is strategic. It is practiced. It was me looking at the pattern of what do I need to do differently to get a different result, to be able to make connections and build relationships. And I talk about this in F the Fairy Tale a little bit. It was everything from how I dressed, the colors that I wore, the way I prepared myself before I entered a room. Like, I'll have clients today actually practice your icebreakers, practice your storytelling. We do improv exercises in some of my workshops just to get into your body. Because a lot of people also are out here dating or in relationships like totally disembodied. We're totally cut off from what we're saying and what we're doing, and we're not in touch with our own bodies, our intuition, and what it's saying. I find that it's a fun way to both be able to express yourself in your body and also to like lighten the load. It doesn't have to be so intense all the time. And I know a lot of folks are sort of dating with a checklist and like we're just with our goggles looking for a certain thing. And sometimes if you're just in the moment and you're really in your person and you're feeling fully yourself, you don't have to actually work that hard. And
to be aligned with your mind and body connection, have that connection and have the intuition is so powerful in so many areas of your life, right? And I think, and that's such a great shift because you're the same person walking into that room. You look the same, right? But when you're connected and disconnected, you definitely feel differently. And to your point, maybe you attract different things because of your energy. So are there some helpful exercises that you work through to just have that presence. I know we have had breathwork coaches on this show and talked about connecting with your body this way. Is there anything else that our audiences can just try at home and see what resonates?
I believe in practicing your intuition because I think we're getting signals all the time and we're blowing through it because of the fairy tale, because we want to complete the story. Our brain wants to get to and happily ever after. So we blow through red flags, we skip ahead, we fill in the gaps, and we're like, yeah, that'll work. And then we wake up, 20 years later, like, who the heck is this that I married, So if you can test your intuition in small ways that have no importance, like when I go to the mall and I'm standing in front of a bank of elevators, I get centered and I go, okay, which elevator is going to open? And then I stand in front of that elevator. And the first few times I did it, I was like, this is crap. Nothing's happening. But then I started to really get in tune with what I was feeling in my body. And it was like, ooh, I kind of felt like an energetic pull over here. Or I felt this kind of rolling in my stomach, or I felt like a tingling in my head. And I could start to pinpoint which elevator was going to open. And then I started to realize that I was getting those signals in other instances in my life. When I practiced it and I started to actually be able to read the signals in my body, oh, if it kind of feels left, it's a no, but if it feels right, it's a yes. And then see it applied in other settings when I was in relationships with friends or talking to my husband or talking to my kids, then I could trust it.
I love that because Anna, me, and our audience is now going to all be at elevators and they're going to be practicing that.
Tell me how it goes, because it works. It really does work, but you do have to commit to practicing it. Don't say, oh, I tried it a couple times, I did it for a week and it didn't work, because there is a pattern and there is a signal that you're getting, and you have to do it enough times so that it's repeatable.
Question about just generally, because we know how many clients, and we know celebrity clients, people who are not celebrities. Biggest challenge that you see, or most common challenge for men and most common challenge for women when it comes to finding authentic love?
Ooh, that's a big question. Biggest challenge for women, this is a little controversial.
Ooh.
But I know.
Say more.
Tell us.
I see that a lot of women are sort of pricing themselves out of the dating pool. And I say pricing in many ways. Like, we are expensive, not just in terms of money, but it's like in terms of education. Women are out earning men in advanced degrees, in graduate degrees and doctorates. And so when a woman would come to me saying, well, I need to date someone at my education level or higher, at my financial level or higher, now suddenly, as that bar has raised, that's leaving out a lot of potential matches. We don't hear that. I don't hear that from men who date women. It's more like, I need to date someone who I feel like supports me and understands me and makes me feel safe. They might say they need to be from a similar like social circle, or I think the coded language that people would use now is like, they have to come from a good family or they have to have similar values. That's like coded language for really like our unsaid caste system, right? Which is still alive and well in dating. However, I believe that dating apps have changed the game, because it used to be that you wouldn't come across somebody who was in a different social circle than you before. Now, everybody all over the world is available to you and in your dating pool. But I'm all for women making more money. I'm all for women being more educated. But I do think that we need to look at, what am I prioritizing or saying I need in a relationship? And is that mine? Does that belong to me? Or does that possibly belong to the generation before me, or to a story that I was told? And this is why I was talking about intuition, because it's far more instructive for me when I'm working with clients on developing those goals and those values. I will always ask, how do you want to feel in this relationship? And we'll do visualizations. I'm doing a vision boarding workshop in April, later in April, and we're going to do a meditation where we visualize how will it feel to be in that relationship that we want, or how to transform the relationship that we're in, because then we will recognize it and then we can move towards it. So that's for women. And then for men, there's a few different things going
Is it also
on.
provocative?
Always provocative. There are a lot of men who are feeling, because of Me Too, because of women advancing in their careers, there's a lot of men who are not sure where their place is. And they're afraid, like, wait, am I supposed to make the first move? Am I supposed to say, do I touch her? Do I not touch her? Like, what can I do? That it's left a lot of men in the dating pool just sort of paralyzed, where they don't know what to say or do to be able to make a connection. And then we obviously also have a real crisis of male isolation in today's society. You know, you think about, like, with our girlfriends, we come and give them a hug whenever we see them. We say, I love you. And guys, you know, they'll maybe go to the movies together and they sit 2 seats apart just so that in case their knees might actually touch. So, you know, a lot of men are really starved for touch. They're starved for connection. And I'm saying this also about men in relationships. So I really encourage women who date men or are married to men to really be sensitive to that. And, you know, I'm not saying like just be a doormat, right? But I'm saying, like, for anyone really, try to look at the situation you're in from the other person's perspective. And I think that will bridge a lot of disconnect. I talk in the book a lot about empathy. And I think that's ultimately the thing that is missing most in dating today.
Tell us about where we can find the book, and what about the workshops? How can we find you? How can we buy the book? How can we sign up for your workshops?
The book is available wherever books are sold. It's F the Fairy Tale, Rewrite the Dating Myths and Live Your Own Love Story. And probably the best way to find out about my workshops, I am working with a Savannah Wellness Resort, and I'm doing a workshop series with them, and offering various workshops on relationships and communication. Best way probably is to follow me on Instagram at Damona Hoffman, or to get on my mailing list, which at damonahoffman.com. Hopefully I can meet the Real Shift Show listeners at a later event.
Can Katy get her friends and family rates?
Yes. Come along.
My flight is already booked.
When I went there the first time, I was like, I'm home. And that's why I'm working with Savannah, because it is literally the place I go where I'm like, I need to clear my head.
And then last question, because we could talk to you all day. And I have so many dating questions, even though my husband's like, why are you so curious? I'm just really curious all of a sudden.
You're curious about people.
Yes, exactly. So you've had this shift in your career when you started casting and, you know, dating, writing the book and being on these shows. What's next for you? How are you shifting your professional and personal life?
Well, I have realized that the challenges that I've worked with people on in dating and relationships are applicable to all relationships. So I've also been working more with corporations and doing keynote speaking and workshops on relationships and communication, because there's a lot of disconnect, as many people have not been in communication face-to-face with colleagues, sometimes ever. I was at a book signing for a friend the other day, and she was like, my assistant is here. I have worked with her for 1.5 years. I've never met her in person. And so when we really step back and we look at how our digital communication has impacted our body language, our the way we speak, and the way that we relate, it's really time that we take stock of that and develop best practices so that we can all feel more connected and that we can communicate more clearly. So I'll be doing more of that. I'll be doing more of the Drew Barrymore Show and Access Daily on NBC. And I'll be doing also, more content through my own social channels.
And congratulations on the book. That's exciting. And just congratulations on probably a lot of the love and comfort that you're bringing your clients.
Thank you. That is why we do the work, right?
And to all of our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We have an ask per usual. Katy?
Of course, please, we want to hear from you. This is your show. So please comment on what did you love about what Damona had to say? What in your mind makes you want to make a shift? Or what inspired you about what Damona had to say? We just want to hear your thoughts and your potential shifts.
And I'd say for this one, share your love story with us. Was there a shift that you made to find your partner in life? Did you do something physical, move? Did you do something mental, some mindset practices? What was it that created that shift for you to meet your love? And until we see you again, let's not forget to go out there and keep making real shift happen. See you soon.